Welcome everybody and welcome to TFC Open Mic Season 3 Episode 16. I labelled this one Manticore Misery TLCs and VXP. So first off, a big welcome to my panel. I've got Brian. Hey Brian.
Science.
And we've got George.
Rage.
And then we've got Mike. How are you, mate?
I'm good, but furious.
Yep, seems to be the theme that's going around for the last couple of days. Then we've got Haffel. How are you?
All right. Not happy, but all right.
Well, and then we've got Venom.
One is not amused.
Yeah, I don't think there's any that are amused right now. I went ahead and did a couple of slides just to kind of put us in what we're talking about, because I know everybody's frustrated. So that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and dive into these guys if I can get this to work. Okay, so yesterday, Rampage reports. The first thing that he included in there was that we're going to see, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Manticore Flagship. This is going to be the main prize for the May raid. And then we got a bit of a bombshell dropped on us. Players must now build and use the Manticore in the TLC to win the Scorpion equipment, which is, of course, for the skill toys. And I guess the only thing I can say about this is pretty much that.
Yep.
That's the nice version.
Yes.
And didn't he also say well built?
I think he just said to use them or have them built. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, so on the communication thing, and this is something that frustrates the heck out of me. It's my big bugaboo. When they announced the raid, they announced in the raid, and this is directly from their release notes, that those who claimed the Manticore in the event would be able to play in the campaign to win the Scorpion equipment. So I guess now that claimed equals build.
Do I just point my finger and shout objection now? Do I do it later? George, you want to take over on that, the Phoenix Wright memes? Because this, I mean, I wasn't sure whether or not, I wasn't sure whether he said built or claimed. I wasn't sure what he said until it was brought to my attention last night that they did say claim. And they've always meant claim is you buy the blueprint, and there wasn't any other stipulations with that. Like how the S targets require blueprint ownership of the Buccaneer and the Boon, or in that case, yes, you had to build them and take the targets with them. But a lot of times, whenever it says requires PBX payload or whatever, you just had to claim the blueprint and own it. They didn't even have to be on anything, and they have changed that significantly. In addition, it's going to be the week before the raid, which means you won't have your stuff done in time in any feasible manner, because you'll have to build it this new way and then take it off and put everything else back on. I think the missiles themselves would have to have like an hour or so build time for this to be even remotely feasible.
Well,
and I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be terrible.
I think it's even worse than that, because, that says for those who claimed the Manticore, you'll be able to play the special campaign event. And it's not just, what it really means is have them built. It actually should have said, if they're going to change that word claimed to build, then they should have said the Manticore, the weapon, and the special, because you're not going to do these targets without a built Manticore fleet. I mean, maybe we'll see the A sets instead of, I'm assuming this is the S target, but
yeah.
Holy crap. If you don't have the other stuff, how are you going to build these Manticores?
Yeah, I posted on a quick poll on the page, because I know personally of people that actually got the hull and ground out a huge amount of low-level targets just to get the hull, thinking that they were going to be able to do the TLC with siege hulls and then be able to build it. And they're just basically now hosed for the raid. So I guess
they were just weaker versions, that maybe if you had full Manticore fleets, you could do it easily, but that you could still do with Skies or Phoenix for a little coin. I could even see that, but I thought they were going to be siege targets with Bucks and Hydras. So, and I think most people did. This is like
I think most people did. Yeah, I think most people did.
I know coin grab gets overused a lot on some of the pages, but if you don't coin this fleet before the TLC, you won't do the TLC. So what is that?
Well, and that brings us to the next one. Basically this boils down to now, it really means one ship, but build it the way we're forcing you to, and keyword there, force, and then refit it to the way that you want. And so I kind of took a look at my situation, and granted this isn't the same as everybody else's, but I'm a token hoarder. I kept tokens from the raid. I kept chests from prior to the raid. Even if I go ahead and still save all of those, add all of those up, do this week's FM, next week's FM, and then the week of the TLC, basically I can end up with 28 days worth of tokens. And so then we have an additional 10 days between now and the 10th, now on the 1st, if it starts on the 1st, that gives me like 38 days. I've already got 4 naked manties that are built with just 1 scatter. So I'm not starting from no hulls. I've got the hulls built, got them ranked. With a semi refit, and by semi meaning not a full build, full armor, just a couple of pieces of the armor and the specials and things I need, like engines, stuff like that, I can actually get 2 hulls done and then 1 more done with the remaining tokens and extra days that are left in there. And, the key piece of this is no one and very few people are in this situation. Not everybody held their tokens. People are still trying to get their FM fleets finished because Kixeye decided this week to go ahead and yank the 111. Then there are people that are dealing with damage increases in there. People also used their tokens to build the actual hulls themselves. High-end coiners are being forced to spend twice. They're having to finish this hull, and then if they want the skill hull, they're going to have to go ahead and coin that. We've also got the limited redeems on the resistors in the weekly, which is absolutely stupid because if you put one on, you're going to have to refit it off later, or if you've already put one on, you're going to have to refit it off later. So people are going to basically build with like Speed System 6 and then have to refit afterwards, even if they're staying with the regular Manticores. And then a concern that I have is, when are we going to see the Scorpion stuff again? Is it going to be available in the raid, or do I have to wait for yet another TLC to be able to get that? And then what about those that got the hull just expecting to be able to do the TLC? They're basically hosed for the raid.
And
I think
a lot
we
of
buy
people,
Kixeye dictionary.
yeah, and the other aspect of that is that a lot of people had the tokens to crank out the 4 blanks, right? And we decided to start building other stuff until we saw what was in the TLC for the missile and stuff, because implicit in, I don't know how many, it was two slides back, was it? You had the where he said build it the way that you want, right? Implicit in that statement is that there is a choice for you to be able to make. We don't have that choice. The choice is missing.
Well, you do if you want to coin a refit. You have a choice to coin the refit.
No. If implicit in that statement is that you have a choice of how to build the hull. We do not have a choice right now on how to build the hull. I think Rue put that in there, is that you have to fit it the way that they're forcing you to do it first.
There it is. Yeah.
Yep.
His quote directly was, one ship, build it the way that you want.
Implicit in that statement is that there is a choice to be made. Unless you're going to do the whole, specs, you don't have to build anything line, you don't have a choice on how you're going to build this. I mean, you do have a choice on how to build it in terms of, what crappy weapon other than the new one can you put on, but you don't have a choice between the skill and the auto hull like they had led us to believe.
Not if you want to do the TLC, right?
Or the raid. You're not going to be hitting S targets if you're sticking on something else.
For the raid, you just have to go with the scatter version. I mean, and hope you have it done by the raid. You won't have it done by the TLC, but if you have some tokens, you might get done by the raid. But even then, you're going to have to use.
But you're still not building it right. But you're still not building it. You don't have that choice, right?
And if they don't offer that stuff in the raid, the Stinger stuff in the raid, you're going to be using it for 2 raids or till the next TLC.
And another thing is that they're not, with the way that they've done all this, they're not only locking out some players from even the option of of coining in terms of participation in that TLC. But even if you have everything and you want to coin, you are quite literally blocked from building 4 full complete hulls if you want to coin the whole bloody thing, because you don't even have all 4 engines. You know, and then that'll lead. I mean, who said coin grab earlier? Was it Haffel?
Yeah.
You know, one of the other things, and I kind of touched on this last night, with the advent of the CICs, there's absolutely zero reason to have flagships anymore. Like, we didn't need a Blood Hydra. We didn't need a Boon. They could have done, well, the Boon didn't have a CIC, but the Blood Hydra could have been done through a CIC. There was absolutely zero reason to have a flagship other than build time.
Right.
And I'm kind of curious to see what happens with this one. If they come up with a flag for this hull and it's not, you know, on the base ship and just a limited CIC so you can build a particular type of flag, I'm going to have a little bit of an issue, because that's just increasing build times beyond what we had before. I mean, the build times are supposed to be similar to previous ones before the advent of the CICs, and it doesn't seem to be.
Except if you make a limited CIC, like the Mercy, let's say there's only one Mercy, but it gave you 80,000 armor as well. I think that's something like what you would describe.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They just put the build time onto that CIC instead of onto the flagship.
They could.
5 extra days you spend building, it's on the CIC now instead.
They could, but also coming from another perspective of that, it's kind of, you know, it doesn't sit as well to have a component have that long of a build time. I mean, they could, and that's probably, if I were in their position, that's how I would do it. So you would have the hull, and then you'd have the CIC, and the CIC would have extra build time. But the catch is there's no particular reason for that extra build time anymore. You know, in the past, the flagships would actually affect everything, anything. It didn't matter what you brought in or anything. What we've seen is more niche flagships and limited in their scope, but we didn't see a decrease in build time.
Oh, no, that I agree with. Yeah, the power level versus the build time, yeah, that has drastically changed, but they haven't adapted. They don't really even adapt the old tech necessarily particularly well. Like right now, Phoenixes and Skyfires, everything like that hull and their components, that should be cut to the build time a third of their current build time, if not more, because they're useless now. Now that the new assault cycle is coming up, what do you expect? They've locked out even the A sets, even the first raid, the A sets. You couldn't do it with the Cannoneers, and I don't think anyone was doing it with Ironclads. You had to be relegated down 2 levels, not even 1. So you're going to be grinding for $1 million a pop if they continue to not have the level lock penalty. Between this and the whole 111s are gone and a couple of other things, I'm sure, I wonder why they don't just kick everyone under like level 60 or something just out of the game, because it feels like that's what they're doing. And I understand that level isn't necessarily a thing of tech. It's like everyone without these blueprints should be kicked out because they're junk. Kickside knows what they're selling us is crap. Those Cannoneers that say they sold for $10, they couldn't even do the B sets, right?
Yeah, you could do 40s with them. That was about it. Yeah.
Yeah, not even what they were intended to do. They could do. So it's pathetic, honestly. You get $10 from a player once, and then they try to do what you ask, and then they fail hard, and then they just quit. They might spend a couple of repairs, but you got $15 out of a guy, now he's gone forever. Well, why don't you give someone a not garbage fleet? You know, give them some bucks near the end for 50. Let's say in practice they had the TLC, but you give a reasonable fleet for $40, and then they go around, and then they feel some form of power. And then you've got that guy. You got $40, which is more than you got out of the first guy who spent $15 and then quit. And he's actually engaged. Like they use Skinner box techniques, and they suck at them. They blew up the box. They grabbed all over the box. I don't know.
This is a company that's not even letting. I mean, I've not seen a company, rather than maximize their potential revenue streams, they seem to continually want to try and limit it instead. And I'm not entirely sure if I follow that
I mean-
whole business concept, because that doesn't make sense to me. If I'm a company and I want to make a
Mhm.
product and I want people to spend money on my product or my anything that I'm selling, you want them to have the access to be able to spend their money. Give me your
Well-
money.
Well, with free-to-play games in general, Facebook, mobile, etc., a lot of the time they're going to have these very top-heavy prize structures and such to where only the top few players get it. But in order to do that, they have to spend a lot. They're planning on, a certain number of whales to spend so much money. And everyone's been debating left, right, and center about, charge $10 from 100 people, not $100 from 10. The problem is, if really the $10 for 100 people is better, that would have happened by now, or it's
Yeah.
already
No,
happened. I want to say the vendettas, and honestly, this past raid cycle I feel was very cheap and easy to do with no coin if you had a decent amount of skill and a well-built fleet, or you could coin and have it done quickly. The problem is, because you could just do things quickly, like I had 20 minutes per Bucky S target on the final raid of the cycle. I didn't need to do anything else. I'm not spending any money. Why would I do that? I just temper my expectations. I think that's what a lot of people did, and the overall profits dropped as a result.
Right, but and we know that
coming back on. They need to make the money back somehow.
Yeah, we know that the structure is top heavy in terms of where they get their revenue. I mean, all the games are like that. But the thing is there are not many games that will, you can limit the prizes, you can try and cause bottlenecks in the game. But I've not seen many games that will absolutely block out players from having even the option to spend their money.
But you can spend money on anything. Anything that requires time or resources, you can spend. And I think on some level, they're counting on people that just honestly don't know any better to spend a lot of money, or even just a little bit, on those $10 Cannoneer fleets, so that maybe they could be upsold into a Buccaneer later for 20 or 30, or just, accidentally click and spend 5 coins on building a level 10 wall or whatever the heck it is. They're counting on people to make uninformed decisions, and I think on some level that's why they're doing this massive information obfuscation, where we didn't know for 4 months that the man special was actual trash, was actually one of the worst specials for damage ever. It was terrible, but we didn't know that because it was just blatantly unclear. Fire supports being additive or multiplicative. Well, they're multiplicative, but they don't show that. They're relying on this to get people to, coin and change after they figure out how things actually work. The problem is people aren't coining because Kicks Your Game is crap. It's terrible. You can't honestly say that this is anything reasonable in a strategy game. You're giving us wrong information and you just don't care. And then we get it blamed on us when something goes wrong. No, the numbers in the game are wrong. That's your job. Fix it.
Yeah, there's a couple of other things that have been brought up that people notice too that have probably gotten lost by the wayside. One was from Heffy and one was, I can't remember the guy's name, but the VXP amount on these hulls did a significant jump this time as well. We're normally around 59, and I think these are at 62,000 or 92,000 now for VXP.
95,250, I think, was the number that was
Yep.
quoted to me the other night.
Yep. And then with the armor, adding on the armor, the resistance armor, you're looking at 4 hours 50 minutes or 4 hours 30 minutes per hull, which I guess people could suck it up during the raid, but the targets for the raid are going to become titanium, and we're not going to have half repair for those.
Yeah, and then on that same note, I don't know, Dave, did you get a chance to post that up onto the TFC page?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so Venom ran one of the targets with it's all three hulls are all built, right? This is a full build.
Yep.
So he went into these targets that are on the map, on the VXP targets, ran the targets, and how much damage did you take?
I think this run was 10 coins.
Is that the new armor on those?
Yep.
So new armor, everything's built out,
What?
the CIC, everything. He got 4 hours in the video. It's 4 hours, 45 minutes. I'll have them posted on the TFC page so everyone can take a look at it.
Damn.
But that is, at half repair, that's 5 coins. I mean, And we're not going to be able to get four fleets out, even if you wanted to coin it. Even if you wanted to coin it, we don't have all the equipment to be able to equip the hull.
One thing I did notice, and I'm not sure if it's a bug or not, but in the target, your antis will only fire from the ship that is being targeted itself. So I put a Zelos in there. I basically put multiple ships in to see what was firing, and for some reason, it's only the lead ship that fires the antis.
The one you have set as the flag.
No, it's just whatever ship is in front and being targeted. That's the ship that's going to fire the antis.
Yeah, but if they're all stacked, they tend to target the flag. So
yeah,
if you get one out in front, so all the antis won't fire. So oh my god.
Wait, so oh my, so
I put,
What anti did you have on it?
I've got both phalanx and switchblade just to test. I was testing which was
And it
doing
didn't.
better.
It didn't matter. You were only targeting one set of.
It didn't matter what was.
Wow.
I stuck my Zelos in behind, and the Zelos just wouldn't shoot anything until it was the ship being shot at. And once it was being shot at, it kind of melted instantly.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
how
they
the
did.
heck are they programming that?
If they can do this, they can fix fire support displays. You plebs, like, come on, this is ridiculous. That's really interesting and difficult, but from a player perspective, that feels terrible. Now I have to either make sure one ship is out in front, kind of tanking, which is okay, I guess, and have that loaded up with antis, or I have to have antis on every single ship and an anti-buff on every single ship, or thereby foregoing significant damage, by the way. You know, instead of the new comm battery, whatever, I have to put FLCS or countermeasure loaders 4 over something else. So I'd be taking more damage anyway because I'm not killing the ship fast enough because my damage is crap because I had to put the antis on to keep my ship safe. What the hell is that? Oh,
I'm not
also,
going to make any kind of a tank until I see the stats on that flag either. I mean, do I want to spread out the antis or do I want to force them onto one ship? They all should fire the way they normally do, the way the game normally works normally.
I mean, I hope it's a bug.
You know that. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how they would.
I can hear the frustration in your
figure
voice,
out,
Robin.
Yeah, how would they even program that? But
That was got to be
with great skill from someone else.
No, that's got to be a glitch. I don't like. I would have to. Like, I would want to see that like with a zoomed in thing so I could see what's actually happening. I might try that tonight. But that's.
Give me a second.
You got it. Okay.
So about VXP weekend, it's if you actually go and deal the damage and die, it's with the triple salty, it's 22,000 to ship, and you need 5 such hits to skull a Manticore. And I don't know why they keep increasing the amount to skull, but after giving it some thought, I actually like this method because the new stuff takes longer to skull. I guess it should because it's higher tier, like that's fine. But the lower stuff with 40, 50,000, 2 hits and you're pretty much good. So it helps the lesser fleets that might not have rank. If you just built Phoenixes or Skyfires and you can go out and deal the damage, then it's okay. And you got to put in some work for the big ships, but you always had to. So that's fine.
Well, I mean, and on that note, though, we also have 2 videos up on the page that show people how to use a PvP hull that has an enormous amount of armor to tank in front of it. And to explain that a little bit, because some people didn't quite catch exactly why that worked. Even if you don't have a hull that has weapons, it allows you to do just a couple more rounds or salvos to hit the enemy, which will give you the more damage you do, the more VXP you get. So even if you only get an extra 2 or 3 shots out because you have a tank in front of you, I know I saw someone try and do it with a Vanquisher. I don't know how well that went, but even if you get 1 or 2 more shots out, you're getting more VXP for the damage that you took.
Yeah, so I did. I used a Warden and woke the ships up, then ran back behind that with my Manticores, and I also
a good idea.
Yeah, and I also used the new Mauler to do it that way as well. So yeah, some really good things. I do have one more slide here before we totally get into VXP and the other stuff. Solutions. We've talked about the things that are ticking us off and making us cranky and where they've gone wrong. So I just kind of threw this together, and obviously you guys can throw some stuff in. The easiest solution from my perspective is just fix it. Run a TLC requiring the Manti redemption, but using siege targets. We were caught out of this in left field, was not communicated clearly. People have started things planning on building one way and now have to switch back and go until the other. Fix it, run a TLC with the siege targets, and then moving forward, communicate clearly, big words, capital letters, clearly in the notes about the restrictions and requirements for any upcoming TLC so that players can plan accordingly, so that at least you know what your options are and how you can do it. And at absolute minimum, this TLC that's coming up, if it's not changed, it's got to be adjusted to accommodate incomplete fleets, like maybe 2 half-built hulls, because there are going to be very few people without coining that are even going to be able to do it.
Or let people run Phoenix and Skies in them.
Yep,
Something,
that's another option.
I mean, there was a couple of us in my line say that we're sitting and talking about this and trying to come up with viable solutions that maybe would work. And one of the things is that at this point, they probably have already started working on the TLC, if not completed it, right? So they already know the layout, they already have that stuff. So we might not be able to get them to do like the TLC the way that we want it with the siege target, so you can run it. But in the alternative, since people haven't gotten some of the weapons and things, why not run a secondary TLC like this week, next week? And all you got to do is throw in the targets from the last raid, do like a B target, 2 HETs, and then the Buccaneer S target, and let people get the weapon and the special that they didn't get in the raid, so that way they can possibly do the TLC that they have already planned. I mean, there are a couple of different solutions. I'm not seeing any, I don't see any response from Kixeye yet in terms of responding to this, or even, I mean, the FM is just redonkulous.
And it's weird for me juggling repair between FM and VXP weekend. I need so many points, and I need to get the resistors now, I guess, because it's 1 per week. But if I don't get it now, I can't go back in time and get the resistors I didn't get, which is really weird. But I still have to get all the other stuff so I can finish building the ship proper. What?
Well, you touch on something there that Ren and I were talking about a couple times this week, in that, if you have an FM that takes this much damage, in general, players are damage adverse, right? And at times we understand we have to take damage and everything, but if you're going out and you're running 3 or 4 117s and you have, a ton of damage on your FM targets, I'm sorry, on your FM fleet, no one's going to coin that. We're going to park it and we're going to repair it, and you can't do anything else because you can't repair 2 things at once. So I'm kind of not understanding why the damage level is as high as it is in the FM, and then to add to that, the just sheer repair time of some of the stuff that they're releasing that they know we have to rank in VXP. I mean, they tune for it.
They throw a Conqueror repair queue out for bounty. An option, it may not be a very good one, is throw in a permanent garrison hull repair queue.
I love that.
That would be great.
Sold.
That way, I can. And you made a key point, and I was discussing this in my discussed last night as well. I've recently just gotten into PvP, playing the bounties, mainly because, talking about it on the show, and, my thoughts are, if I'm going to talk about it, I probably need to understand it. And, I was excited about it, building my fleets, got the new stuff, doing everything else. But I keep finding myself in this situation where I'm either having to coin-based repair fleets, which, I guess is okay, but I'm stuck in this massive, can't do this until this fleet is repaired. And it's just really frustrating to, log on and you've still got 4 hours of this fleet, which you need because my tokens run out in 2 days kind of thing. And
Yep.
So maybe something else. I did want to make a point. Somebody did bring something up in chat that I thought was good with respects to a solution. Ryan had said something about making it co-op. While co-op works if you've got someone that's got the fleet built, then somebody in your alliance or your friends are going to have to go ahead and build that fleet so that they can help everybody else in their alliance to get the new stuff, and people are still going to be in the situation with build times to go ahead and finish those types of things. So I'm not sure if co-op now, maybe the future, but I'm not sure if co-op on this TLC will actually help anybody.
Yeah.
And if the damage is in that Venom took is indicative of what you're going to take in the TLC, I don't want to be that one guy that has to help everybody out unless I'm a millionaire.
Right.
No, well, most people want to do it themselves. I mean, I think, based on, and in my sector, we have a lot of people that we help, but it's not because they refuse and don't want to do it. It's because not everybody can dedicate 4 hours a day to the game, and not everybody, real life happens and comes first. And most of these people want to do it themselves. They don't want to have to rely on other people.
Yep, exactly. Now, one of the things that I want to touch on the garrison repair queue, because I actually really like that idea, but then I was thinking about it for a second. I'm like, quite honestly, they could just tune the targets so it's not even needed, because if the targets weren't as damaging, right, we wouldn't be sitting for hours and hours and hours just to do 3 targets. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like, I'm still trying to understand why they insist on having this have this much damage, because before they upped the damage, people were doing it from anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour damage, right? And then now we're seeing runs from like an hour 35 to 2 hours of damage, right? And that's only the people that are driving them with full built fleets
And a
really
flag.
well. And the Savage Flag, because I have people that have copied both, because Ren and I are getting about the same amount of damage in them, and people have copied our builds exactly, and they're getting 2 and 3 times the damage on their runs than we are. And I just sit and think about that, and I'm like, if you're taking anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of damage for 117, what else are you going to do in the game?
They've cut my seat time in half. I get 4 hours and change, as much as 4 hours 30 minutes for 4 dragons, no flag. So I basically do that. They sit. I'm not going to coin it, just on principle. And then I go run my Manticores into a 105, and then I was doing the March to War, prize pack or 2, and then I left. I got my seat time's been cut in half, but then so is my coin expenditure.
And that's you who does March to War, which I believe means you're a masochist. That's the one for the Issator, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you on some
I want con tokens.
Actually hate yourself, and you put yourself through this thinking that the 3-day Conqueror tokens are going to make things okay in the end. I just, like, if I want to do FM, when I come home, I hit a target, I have like 2.5, 3 hours of damage. I hit 2 before bed, I repair overnight, I hit 1 before I go to work, and that's it. But for me, the VXP weekend, this week has just been, okay, run your fleet into the ground. I have 10 hours of repair, and I threw a Goose Monkeys on once. I'm going to go do anything else for, like, the rest of the day. And I have games where I can just do that. I can click a few buttons and have a play session of 5 minutes and feel adequately rewarded with what I did and go do something else. If Battle Pirates wants that much time out of me, then it better not make me repair so dang much.
Right. I'm a tad confused, and the statement I made earlier about the Zelos not firing is not 100% true, but it's not false either. So if I put it into the missile range, it fires there, but if I move it slightly further, only 1 fires.
How much do you want to make a bet? I'm just going to say this right now. How much do you want to bet it has the same functionality? Those missiles have the same functionality that the missiles on the missile cruiser do.
I've got a funny feeling it does, but it's, if you were watching earlier when I was just poking around testing the target, the antis just stop ever so often.
Can you bring that?
Ends.
Can you bring that Manticore a little bit closer to the Zealous, or is that going to get it out of range? Yeah, see, the farther, when you have those missiles come out a little bit more, you're shooting down more of them. I'm going to bet you it's the same mechanic that we saw in the PvP that we've seen. And actually,
iframes.
while we're actually on this real quick, is anyone else really concerned about the new function of that they have on these hulls? The limited, what is it, like limited rounds that they have on a hull?
The ammo and reloading. I mean, it's interesting, and in theory, it'll make you think about target selection.
As long as they don't do it to us.
That's the part that I'm worried about.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to build
our stuff.
We're gonna have to build an ammo carrier to go with our fleets, in addition to a flag. And
oh my gosh, I'm going to boot Heffel. Stop.
I will leave. No, that's actually exactly what I was. That was exactly what I was getting at. I don't want to see that come into our side of the game, because that right there, I will absolutely leave the game. I do not want to have to worry about friggin' how much ammo I'm carrying. This is not a first-person shooter. This is not. This is Battle Pirates.
Trying to figure out the game with the current setup is hard enough. I like the idea of having ammo on the opponents, again, because target selection and all that, and it gives them sort of an excuse to make the weapons stronger.
No,
I figure that's what they're going to do. They don't need an excuse, but they have one.
If they did that, that's how they always use the excuse. But the problem is then they tune around that, which is bullshit. So
yeah, they tune around that. I mean,
I don't even want to see it.
You said yourself, I think even last night, when they take the raid targets to map targets, they don't actually change the damage. And, I believe they won't do that here either, which, I know you mentioned to tune the targets for 2 half-built ships or whatever, but if they could tune targets properly, they'd have tuned them for the map like they said they were going to for years and years and haven't done yet. I mean, it's a nice idea.
Yeah, they've made them harder on the map.
Past behavior is saying no.
I'm just saying, I'm getting out in front of it. If that comes into the game, it's going to be I can't even imagine how many people are going to leave. I do not want to see that.
Amen.
Yes, I do not want to see that coming to our side of the game.
Yeah,
the build times on the ammo carrier won't be quick either. That'll be something you absolutely have to have. So that'll be a 10-day build just for a blank haul.
Well, but the thing is,
you mentioned George, people leaving, and I did want to touch on that before the end of the show, so I'll throw that out now. There was a somewhat mass exodus after the November FM change last year. There was a bunch of people that left. Kixeye stepped back, corrected that. They've made some good changes. I mean, they made some changes to Bounty. They made changes to the FM. They threw out the co-op TLCs for people to be able to get charged armor, as well as the Bucky fleet to be able to help them. This has just driven people again. I mean, I know of 2 very, very high-level players that have scrapped, not the usual, bugger this, I quit, stomp off, take my ball, go home, and then they're back on next week. They've scrapped their bases. I've got people in my alliance that have never, ever mentioned it that are talking about doing it. And I've also seen it in other sectors. And, I don't know what the incoming player base is versus outgoing, and whether that incoming player base has any intention to coin or not. But at some point, when these people are leaving, and these are people that have played for years and coined, and some of these are really, really big coiners, Kix has got to wake up and take note.
And at the same time, they don't let the incoming new player base, somebody, lower levels, compete. They can't do anything. They can't do the raids. I mean, until you get to about level 50 or 60, and you can maybe do some 40s if you got the fleets, you can't do anything.
Yeah, the path for new players is terrible. They have no sense of tutorial in any form or fashion, and the game is so complex and front-loaded with information. If a new player read the Manticore hull, they could sort of get something's okay, penetrating and corrosive, that's good. What's ship DPS, structure DPS? What are these deflections? What's all this? What's a CIC? There's a lot of questions, and there's no good method in game to answer. And if you go to the forums and ask about it, you're probably going to get made fun of nonstop, and then you'll get upset and quit.
You talked about masochism earlier. Imagine being level 50 right now and decide, I'm going to keep doing this. Yeah, I'm a level 50 and I'm going to keep doing this. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, the only way you can make it in the game as a newer player or as a lower level, and let's be honest, is if somebody takes you, you happen to land in a good sector, or you're joining because you know somebody, and somebody takes you under the wing, gets them to the various pages, points them to the various videos or whatnots, websites that kind of help explain things. And if they get some help, I mean, we had one just recently in our sector who, played for a little bit and then stopped. There's no way they can do it without that. And frankly, the mood that I'm in with respects to the game, if I'm happy, I'm willing to spend. I don't mind helping other people. I don't mind coining repairs to do so. But, when Rue's pissed off, Rue's not inclined to spend, and people are just falling away.
Yep.
It goes further than that as well. I've been helping 2 or 3 low-level players, and the problem they've run into is, yes, they can get the FM fine, but what can they do from that? I tried helping in the raid, and the ships they could build couldn't do anything in the raid. And for me to help them, it was taking them 10 minutes just to kill one of the research buildings alone.
Yeah, the bridge from one to the next is not there, and then the bridge to get even to the FM is not there. I mean, it's.
I mean, they just burned it.
Now, on the other hand, I did see someone hitting 40s with Punishers in the raid.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure what was on it.
That poor soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
You maybe get a little thing, but you're never going to get to the point where you can
caught up. Yeah, no.
Catch up, and let's face it, you miss a raid or you miss it's very hard to stay caught up. And Ginger just made a really good point as well in chat with mentoring and stuff like that. There's so many chores, and those chores take so much time out of our gameplay. It's hard to take the time to be able to step back and do that.
Oh, I can absolutely 100% agree with that. I mean, otherwise I'd be having a lot more vids and articles out. I just don't. What am I going to do? I have to be able to play it and figure out what's going on before I can even help. And
I'm still waiting for that goat article, by the way.
Yeah.
So what?
I'm actually kind of curious. We've gone through a lot of really touchy subjects, and I haven't heard. Particularly, I'm waiting to see what Nick's going to say. But from Nick and Mike, I haven't heard anything from y'all. Thoughts? Guys got comments? Any of it, man. Any of it. And Snoopy, I know you want to say something. Go.
And try not to swear.
You don't want to hear me.
No, go ahead.
Oh, we do.
I hate stupidity. I cannot stand stupid people.
Oh, I should leave that.
So to me, either we don't pay them, they don't get their wages from us, or they are that frigging stupid. They just want to lose the jobs, because this is just absolute, total, utter stupidity that they're doing to everybody. We've had so many folks leave the game in the last few days. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Well, give me some specifics. What exactly, I know we've talked about several of the topics, right? And we've focused on a few things. What, from your perspective, which one's start with the most egregious out of all of it?
Let's start early on in the week. Okay. So we're doing the raid. We've got a prize list. We've got the prize list. We work towards a prize list. We've got one guy, 528 million. They suddenly had new prizes. He says, sod that, I'm done. Quits. Big coiner, done. Because they moved the goalposts. We've got the FM. The FM damage increases every week. You've got to refit your ships week in, week out to do the FM. I'm not prepared to do that. They take the targets away off the FM. So I'm a level 120. I can do anything in the game. I've got more time than anybody in the game because I'm retired. I've got more money than most. Am I going to do it? I'm not going to coin. I don't coin chores. My wife gives me chores for free. Why the hell should I pay to do chores? I'm not going to do it. Not a frigging chance. By the way, can you tell I'm mad?
Just a little bit. I mean, that's why I wanted to see what you guys wanted to I know Mike sat and just gave up on VXP, and he just went and coined the damn things and went back to back to back. Didn't even, because he just didn't want to. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I just didn't want to deal with it. I got up and started, and it was a salty morning, I guess. And I looked at it the first time. I said, "Oh man, this is crazy." And then I started looking at what Snoop was saying earlier, or Nick was saying earlier, that the same kind of thing. I was just coming off the raid where they put in, and I spent points during the raid, and then all of a sudden they put the new content in, because I'm figuring, well, you know, here it is Sunday night, they haven't done it, they're probably not going to do it, so go ahead and buy some stuff. Well, shame on me, because that put my whole, you know, start over again to get the prizes that want, okay, quotes around want. So that left a bad taste. And then I started to do the VXP. Just I just, my heart wasn't in it. It's like, screw this stuff, just throw the stupid coins at it, get done with it, and be over with it. Then I find out you technically do have to have 2 fleets if you want to go forward and do the next raid. No, you don't have to have 2 fleets, right? You can have the skill or the rush one, but it wasn't presented that way, and that pissed me off even more. So I mean, it's like, you have to build this current fleet with scatter guns to do this upcoming raid, and then you have to make a decision whether you want to continue on that way or go ahead and do the refits. And that's not what I was led to believe at all, not so many. So I don't know.
So I mean, and I want Kix to actually take note, because everybody in this panel either play a very large amount, coin decently, or are, you know, very in tune with the mechanics of the game and stuff. Every single person on this panel, I can probably say with some certainty, is livid at everything from the FM to the TLC to the communication. And
let me just add real quick. I'm retired as well. And if I'm watching TV, like, there's no house things to do, wife chores to do, a lot like Nick there. Don't have a whole lot of money, but I sit in the chair, and if I'm watching TV, I'm playing the game. So, and in the wintertime, you know, that's like most of the day. So I just wanted to throw that in there. My whole life right now, my whole casual part of my life is playing the stupid game, and it's starting to be not fun.
Amen.
And that's a bad thing right there. And I'm kind of leery about seeing if I want to poke Rum to see if he wants to say anything, because
I'll poke him.
You poke him.
Here. Don't worry.
Go ahead. Let's hear.
Crap. No, I've just got on to be a part of the crap show, picking on Kix because it's fun.
Didn't you do that last night too?
Well, it's an ongoing theme. As long as they keep screwing up, somebody's got to call them on it. Otherwise, they get to do it for free.
And I don't do that often.
Mike did. I didn't. Yeah, last night I didn't do much.
Well, I mean, even still, does somebody have how many people are watching us live, like right now?
There's 111.
Okay, yeah. So out of the whole player base, you know, even the group TFC has 15,000 people, and less than 1% of that are watching the show right now. And yeah, it'll get distributed around, and I'm sure people are asleep right now, you know, somewhere. But even then, what percentage of people that are in a group that is then a percentage itself of the people that play the game will even see this? I'm sure a lot of people will just go about and we'll never hear a word from them. They might drift off silently into nowhere, or they might come around, but even still, it's a very small amount of people that we're even reaching.
Yeah, but a bunch of people are tired with all the time, and they have to put into the game all the seat time, all the chores. And if you want to have, you know, do that hour of pain to get that 10 minutes of fun hitting bases, then to go do homework too, to go to the forums and keep up with all the posts that all the mods put out, plus all the videos, plus all the group pages. I do it because I'm retired and I have time and I'm not working. But there's no way the average player can keep up with everything Kixeye wants us to do and do all the homework that's required to do it well. It's just impossible. I'm putting in 6 hours a day just to keep up with crap.
Yeah, and they lose those players. And I mean, let's face it, every coiner at one point was a non-coiner, and the player has to feel like they're getting value for what I call their entertainment dollar. I know it's cheaper than playing golf, but you know, in some instances, but you know, people have to feel that they want to spend, and if they're mad, upset, frustrated, then absolutely. And I think there's 99.9% of the coiners that are in that position right now where they don't want to spend. And that's something that Kix needs to realize. And, they were clawing their way back. They were doing so well. And then it's like, bam, let's throw out this brick wall and do our best to piss off everybody again.
I've been known to coin on occasion. Okay. And I've decided with the new FM that from now on, I'm only going to coin the part of the game I like, which is PvP. I like to hit bases. I like to do the mega thing. I'm not opposed to some, fleet versus fleet with conquer halls. I like that stuff. I am not going to coin any more PvE. I'm not going to coin any raid. I'm not going to coin any FM. I'm not going to coin, damn sure not going to coin chores. So I'm going to spend my money and sometimes targeted spending as a way to wake a company up. Maybe. If not, that's what I can do.
I'd love to see their month-to-month financials. If I'm honest, I'd love to see their day-to-day financials, even up through the raid, because this raid cycle was pretty good. A couple of exceptions, the instant deaths and the 83s in the first raid cycle was way too hard. But other than that, I think this was a pretty good raid cycle. And they did a lot of things right, and they did a lot of things that make people happy. And then, a week before the raid, they tripled the damage on the FM. And now these string of announcements, everything was going pretty much okay. And then in a space of a week or two at most, they screwed it all up.
And speaking of announcements, and again on my bugaboo, I'm royally pissed off that this came out in a Rampage Reports on a Facebook thing. There are many players that don't ever go to Facebook, don't even know that Battle Pirates even has a page. There is, at least there wasn't before the show, no official announcement on the forums about this other than people posting in a post, that somebody brought up, and then, Laredo actually went back and confirmed the information that we had received. And of course, the mods are just as annoyed as we are, but there's still no notice. So what about the players that didn't watch the show or who are not on the pages all the time, that don't even know that this is happening and are happily off doing their FM fleets, and then they go to try this TLC and then they're totally screwed?
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, that was an important part of, I'm sure people thought, hey, I have my Manticore shelled for VXP. That's all I need. I'm going to do this other stuff now, or I bought the blueprint. That's all I need. And they're, rude awakening. Like, this information, announcements as important as that need to be put in the game.
Yes.
Like when you first log in, how they have the splash screen, maybe it tells you about the raid or the FM prizes. That needs to be in there too.
Especially when it fundamentally is a complete 180 from prior information that they released.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still running into players now that don't understand the TLC coming up. You not only have to have the Manticore, you have to actually use the Manticore in order to participate in the TLC. And they're like, wait, what? I mean, wow. Yeah.
It's another case of just false information. Probably a lot of bad communication within the departments at Kixeye, where they're just telling each other wrong things and spreading it to us, and it just makes a really bad environment for everyone.
I shouldn't.
Same thing.
I'm some kid from the. Go ahead.
Same thing we've been complaining about since day one of the shows, even on the old shows. There is no communication. They don't give us the information that we need to prepare properly. They like us to make the mistakes, so we wind up coining. How many times do we have to say it, knowing that they're not going to change? So now we
the people who need to hear this don't watch the show.
That?
The top end, the very, very big whales, I don't think they watch the shows.
No, well, they don't need to. I mean,
they've got enough money that their mistakes don't matter, and whatever they spend in their versus their own personal budget is irrelevant. And okay, that's fine. It's your money. You do whatever.
Okay. We are a couple of minutes away from our intended finish time. Brian, you said you had some Brian math on the new
armors. The new armor. So I ran a quick model with a couple of assumptions because I wanted to see would it be better to put this new armor with the resists on or have the charged? And I did not include anything about charge. Charged pool, charge amount reduction, 0. I set those to 0 because it didn't matter. I didn't think it mattered. I averaged the resistances out between corrosive and penetrative, added them together, took them halved. I assumed 3/4 of the damage would be from ships and 1/4 would be from turrets. And that could be wrong, but I don't care. We only just saw the target for the first time yesterday. So 3/4 is ship damage and 1/4 is turret damage. So the resistances are halved again for 50% turret defense. I ran through and I put the armor, the repair time, and the damage you took, and how much that would actually end up being in terms of time in the dock. So if the bigger ship took 1,000 points in damage versus a smaller ship, what's that going to come out to be? And the resistances mattered so much, even at those high of a numbers, then even in the low 90%, that mathematically it was better to have all 4 of the new armor in the FM on. I don't like it, but even with the worse repair efficiency, even with the 2 hours of time added or whatever it is, the 1/5 less damage that you take by having those armors on, because it's an extra 18% resists, that's better than not having that repair time for any realistic estimate of total damage that you'll take on the target and any realistic estimate of number of shots you take that the deflection reduces the damage by.
Overlooking the total repair in case you get sniped, though, right?
Yeah,
saying.
That's an anomaly. Yes, if you get sniped, it sucks, but it still sucks. Like, it sucks about twice as much, yeah. But
what I think I'm hearing you saying is that for builds going forward, drop the charged, even though it still looks good with its resistances. You want to go with the new armor, even though the increased repair time.
Yeah, new armor is better in any reasonable case that I could think of. Yes, it takes a while to build. It takes a while to repair, but here we are. I didn't run into weight issues at this point in time. Even a full stack, all 8 weapon slots, all 4 new armors. I haven't run into weight issues yet, which is another key factor.
Ryan, what are you considering a new armor? I'm being stupid.
The D5 com, the pen and corrosive resist in the FM
all
right now.
Stuff that we could get right now that just came out.
Yeah, like I put the com battery on it. I put, I think, 6 corrosives and 2 phalanx antis. Speed 6, the new com battery, siege targeting. I think I had agility 4, the new special that came with the Manticore, and the penetrating and corrosive resistance special, and the CIC, of course. I think that was a pretty general safe build, and it felt like it was high in terms of weight required, and I still had a couple thousand tons left to play with.
What about a mix of the new armor plus like one of each corrosive missile?
No.
One of each. I'm sorry, charge is what I meant.
No, 4 armors is the best. 4 of these new ones is the best.
Yeah, because you're losing 18% every time you do it.
The only case it might help would be in the lower targets where your charge will actually be applied, but the S target, your charge is going to be basically wiped at the start.
Right, but you're still getting the 18% and you're still getting the deflection. So I'm just talking about cutting the armor repair time in half by using 2 charged and 2 of the new.
Yeah,
but you're losing 18%.
Or am I just going half-assed all the way around there and not helping myself at all?
Yeah, you're foregoing the resist on the other side. If you use corrosive armor, you don't have pen resist from that armor slot, and vice versa.
No. I mean, you use 2 new ones and then 1 corrosive charged and 1 missile charged.
Still worse. That was one of what I tested. It still worse.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as I can tell.
I'm talking about lessening repair time and therefore the cost of coining it for both the TLC upcoming and the raid for at least the first cycle. The damage that you save by having that extra resist on, even though it doesn't look like much, it's still 15% or 18% of the remainder. And in the long term, that's going to save you more damage than the tiny bit of extra deflection and the lack of a repair modifier. It's pretty significant. Okay. Well, that's what I was getting to. Yeah, I mean, what's going to cost the least? That's what I was trying to get to. What's going to save me the most?
For the new armor, in terms of repair time, actual time spent repairing in the dock, 4 of the new armor in the FM, as of right now, the best I can tell, is the best. It has the least repair time.
Well, time is money in this game.
Yeah, even though it increases your repair time significantly and dilutes the repair modifier, you take so much less damage that it ends up being better.
So,
George, you said you had something?
I have a few points that I want to touch on before we go off. I want to actually make one comment on that with the anomaly thing about your fleets getting sniped. Dude, it's not an anomaly for some of us. I'm just going to let you know right now. There are 3 things that we discussed a few things tonight, and one thing that I think we want to make clear, it's not even that we're having poor communication. Right now, we're having misleading communication, which is even worse than poor communication, and I think that has to get addressed very, very quickly, because you cannot mislead your players and your customers and expect them to stay. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, I don't know if we can go for an extra 10 minutes or not and discuss. Bounty's coming up, and I've been paying attention on different pages and stuff. And I'm watching what's happening to the people that have been using the Howie hack and all that stuff. And I'm kind of having an issue because Bounty's coming up, the base hacks are still out there, they're not fixed, and the people that are getting caught are just getting a slap on the hand. They're gone. Like, I saw one guy was gone for, it was less than 24 hours. And I'm like, what's going on? And, the issue that I have is, if you're going to catch these people, and you can't fix it yet, but if you're going to catch these people, make the repercussions significant. Ban them for bounty. Bar them from playing bounty. If you're afraid of losing them as a player and you don't want to ban them, then bar them from something that's actually significant, that's not going to screw the rest of us.
There needs to be a deterrent.
Yes, there has to be a repercussion for your actions. Hell, I taught that to my kids when I was raising them. There's a repercussion to your actions, and right now it doesn't seem like there's a legitimate one out there.
Okay, let's look at it a little bit farther. Let's reverse the roles and make you the parent. How do you slap Kicksai's hands for not penalizing those people? Because let's face it, by letting those people continue to do what they do, it garners Kicksai coins.
Why do you think they're letting them do it?
There are options.
Exactly.
There are options, but I don't know that I want to talk about those options because we've never.
Yeah, we don't want to punish Kicksai because we're afraid they'll take our game.
No, that's not what I said.
One of the repercussions, and people are actually doing this, is there are people that have made the decision not to participate in the next bounty because of it.
Sure, Spax is one of them.
And like Ren said in chat too, don't coin.
Yep. You can express your dissatisfaction in many, many ways.
I haven't put coin in a game since January.
Until yesterday.
No, it was already there. I just
used half of it yesterday.
I didn't put any in.
Okay. Well, I think that we went a little bit over, but big thank you for everybody for joining us today and sharing your thoughts and insights, and big thank you for all not using naughty words. I appreciate that.
I was going to say thank you, Snoopy, for not swearing.
But okay, I think we'll go ahead and leave it there.
Damn it.
I'll go ahead. But believe me, I even had to restrain myself today. I'll go ahead and post the slides up there for the folks so that they have those to look at. And then I guess we'll have another show on Tuesday and see what other shenanigans we end up with. Thanks for those of you that did join us in chat and shared your views and questions there as well. We certainly appreciate it.
Yep. And guys, I am going to add just one thing. If you guys do find stuff like this, send in tickets. If there are complaints, be proactive. I know a lot of people rely on us to be the bridge between the players and Kickside, but there are times when be proactive.
And that's a really good point. To expand on that a little bit, because nobody likes what happens in the games with hackers, but if Kicks doesn't know about them, they can't react. And so you see it time and time again. We'll send I can't be stuffed sending in a ticket. Send in a ticket.
Yeah, yes. Some of us can't send in tickets.
Yeah.
Some of us haven't spent $50
For that,
on the game.
for that
But
you
for
can.
that,
you
you
report.
can.
You can
Oh,
report
you
a
can?
player. Yeah, you can
Yes,
report a player
report it.
without
Cheating.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
thanks. You just said ticket, and I was like, oh, well, yay.
Yeah.
so
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for everybody on the panel, and thank you for those joining us in chat. And then I guess we shall talk to you all on Tuesday.
Tuesday. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.